Okay, so what is autism in adults? Here are 3 common signs that you need to know. All that's coming up. Hey guys, welcome back to the Aspie world. My name is Dan. I have autism, ADHD, OCD and dyslexia, and I make weekly videos on this type of content. So if you're new around here and you'd like to learn more about that, remember to hit the subscribe button by clicking that notification bell down below. If you're watching over on Facebook, be sure to give this page a follow to see more videos just like this every week. And if you're watching over on Instagram, make sure to follow this account to see daily autism content from me. Okay guys, let's get on with it. Whew, awesome, love making these videos. I've done loads of videos like this, but before we get into that video, I just want to say, if you want to download my free PDF Autism Life Hacks book, you can do at autismhacks.net. That'd be super awesome. Right, okay, so I've done loads of videos talking about like common signs, like how to identify autism in people, and I still get asked the same questions. How do I know if this? How do I know if that? And so I want to do this video just talking about 3 most really common signs in adults that you could really tell if someone's on the autism spectrum. And so I think that this is much needed, and I think that a lot of people will benefit from this. So let's dive right into this video. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about here is socially awkward. Now, when we're talking about autism, we always think about autism in children, but we're looking at adults in this picture, and we're talking about autistic adults, right? And there's a lot of autistic adults who didn't get diagnosed because of one thing or another. So when we're thinking about autistic adults, I'm thinking about this in particular thing, which is social awkwardness. And socially awkward people, obviously neurotypical people can be socially awkward, but when you have social awkwardness or issues with social boundaries and social situations, for example, like not knowing when it's your turn to talk, not knowing what's the right thing to say, not having a filter to stop you saying things that may upset somebody when you're unaware of upsetting somebody, these skills, these unwritten social boundaries, are learned by neurotypical people over time, but with autism it's somewhat missed because of other things that go on inside the autism brain. So the idea of having social awkwardness, but having real difficulties with social interaction and social communication on a whole, is something that is so unique and so interesting about autism that it's a very, very big telltale sign that the person in question could be on the autism spectrum. Okay, so number 2 is difficulty communicating. Now, communication is typically at the heart of an autism spectrum disorder because autism is a communication issue at the end of the day, but this causes a lot of autistic people to have difficulties in communicating their needs and their emotions and how they feel to other people. Now, autistic people may not have the ability to express how they feel if they're angry or upset about something. It may come across in different ways. If they don't like the texture of food, it may come across in an anger outburst, or they might flip the table. There's loads of different things that can go on here, but knowing that somebody has real difficulty communicating how they feel, telling someone what is going on in them, how they're feeling, how they're thinking, is definitely difficult for people on the autism spectrum. Thus, a good way to identify if someone you know is having difficulty with communicating, then you know it could be related to an autism spectrum disorder, and that's really interesting to find that out. Okay, so number 3 is quirky behaviour. Okay, I know it sounds kind of like a broad spectrum because I know a bunch of people have quirky behaviour. I mean, everybody's got a grandfather who's a bit crazy and, you know, he's got quirky behaviour, right? But there's a difference between having quirky behaviour that's an autistic trait and just being quirky for the sake of being just a bit out there, you know? So quirky behaviour is sometimes characterised within a few different things, and I mean it's in the lightest and nicest sense. So autistic people love routines, right? And they love repetitive behavior. So they may rock backwards and forwards and have stims where they like put their hands in front of their face, or do certain things like listen to a record and just that one piece and rewind it just to hear that one bit of the record. They may have a routine, a daily routine that they follow rigidly. They follow that structure. They leave work at the same time, they have lunch at the same time, they eat the same thing at lunchtime, they come home at the same time, they wear pretty much the same clothes all the time, they have the same shoes every single time, they may just like carbon copy every single day. Now that may be quirky behavior to people, but it's typical for someone on the autism spectrum to want to eat the same thing every single day, want to do the same thing every single day. And that's why a lot of autistic people find themselves in jobs that are somewhat repetitive, and if they're lucky enough to find a job, then they'll find a job that is repetitive, because that repetitive notion is comforting and it's expected. They like expectation, but they don't like unexpected surprises. So this is a good way to identify somebody who's on the autism spectrum by just knowing that, noticing their behavior may be slightly quirky or maybe odd, but it's not really odd, it's different. It's just a different way of doing it because they're wired neurologically a little bit differently to neurotypical people. Now, if you think this video can help somebody, please share it on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, I read every single one, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.